Yes, what a good group today, and by golly, they got good reason to. Hello again, everybody. Lance Russell and Dave Brown. We're right along ringside, ready to go with another big week of championship wrestling. David, right from the very beginning down to that final match, we have got a whale of a show this week.
What an opener we have. We have the Batten brothers, Mark and Brad, in here. They'll be going against Troy Graham and the Interns in the opening match of the day. That'd be a main event, just about any arena in the country, and we've got it here as the opener today. Handsome Jimmy Valiant, boy from New York City, Boogie Woogie Man. He'll be here today in a match. Also, we've got an interesting team of Eddie Gilbert and Iron Mike Sharp. They've been together before. They will be again today in tag team action. Then, a little bit later on, the expiration of time match. It'll be the former Nightmares, Ken Wayne and Danny Davis, going against Lynn Denton and Tony Anthony, the Dirty White Boys.
Boy, what a payoff that is. And son of a gun, in between that time, we're going to have some information on Jimmy Hart. We'll have some information on the King and Handsome Jimmy. And as a matter of fact, with all the information we've got, we better get at it. We'll take time out and we'll be back. We'll be talking about the Gold Cup tournament with Handsome Jimmy and Jerry the King in just a moment.
World's largest custom auto show, featuring the world premiere of the sensational Street Hawk stunt cycle. See Bigfoot at Hollywood's greatest stunt car, the 18 Band, the Fall Guy pickup, and Knight Rider's all-new kit, plus the Jumpin' General Lee. Meet General Hospital's Jimmy Lee Holt, Playboy's Playmate of the Year, Barbara Edwards, the Solid Gold Dancer, a Super Jam Band Battle, Mr. T lookalike, break dancer, superstar wrestler, hilarious cartoon characters, and the greatest show of all time, next weekend at the Fairgrounds.
Match coming up here when the Interns will be climbing in with a very aggressive young team of Mark and Brad Batten, and we're going to be getting into the ring in just a moment with that. Tell you one thing I do in fact want to do right now is see if we can get the King and Handsome Jimmy if they're around. We want to talk about that big Gold Cup tournament that took place over in Japan, and let me be the first officially to welcome back the Samurai Warrior and the King right here, Jerry.
Thank you, Lance. I didn't come back empty-handed either. Handsome Jimmy brought you a little gift here. Now I don't want, I know you'd like this. This is Godzilla, all the way from Japan. Now, I don't know if you can read that in Japanese, but that says Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
So King of the Monsters. No, bless your heart. I thought that was the King of the Monsters right over there.
Well, that's what some of those Japanese wrestlers thought too, I'll tell you. Lance, I'm sure not many of the people here know about the results of the tournament. It was a big double elimination tournament there, and we were under the impression that the whole tournament was going to take place in Tokyo. It didn't. It took place all over Japan.
All over. That's important because a lot of different cities.
And it really turned out to be important for Handsome Jimmy and I, because our first match was in Sapporo, Japan, which is way north of Tokyo. And what happened, we were supposed to fly over to Tokyo, then spend the night, and then fly into Sapporo the next morning, and then the rest that day, and then have the match that night. What happened, we flew from Memphis to San Francisco, and then we're supposed to connect with a flight from San Francisco on to Tokyo. Well, the flight, for some reason, from leaving Memphis was about an hour late. When we got to San Francisco, we had missed the Japan Airlines flight. There wasn't time to make the connection. So we called the travel agency, which was in Los Angeles. A little Japanese man named Mr. Ina, he said he panicked. So what we had to do in San Francisco, we had to jump on another plane, fly to Los Angeles. He was there to meet us at the gate with some tickets. We got right on another plane, flew to Honolulu. Got in there at 10:30 at night, got up at 6 o'clock the next morning. Now, we were already
supposed to have been over there. You had your rest and got acclimated.
Right. We left at 6:30 the next morning, flew for 9.5 hours from Honolulu to Tokyo, jumped off a plane there, went right down to another gate, got on another plane to Sapporo for an hour and a half. This is unbelievable. I'm telling you, unbelievable trip. Got off the plane in Sapporo, and there's two little kamikaze taxi drivers there waiting for us. Now, you think the snow was bad here in this area, and believe me, in Sapporo, Japan, they have 5 feet of snow. Not 5 inches, but 5 feet. But it snows all the time. The people are used to it over there. Yeah. It snows all the time. The roads are just like caked snow and ice, and this guy was driving us. Then we had a 2-hour taxi drive at 80 miles an hour on the snow streets.
You were ready to give up.
When we got
Referee, I give up.
when we got to the arena, the matches had already started. We had to rush, get dressed, go right out to the ring. And suffice to say, we lost our very first match in Japan, and we figured that was it for us. But then it was fortunately a double elimination tournament. We went on and won 6 straight matches.
Boy, you got on a roll then.
And made it to the finals. And in the finals, we faced, I don't know if you remember me telling you about this, Masa Saito. He's a guy who had a little run-in and put 17 Minneapolis policemen in a hospital in a brawl in
read about him.
And it was in all the papers and everything like this. Well, this guy, I mean, he bit the police dogs up there in this fight. But this guy was an animal, believe me. And unfortunately, we didn't win in the finals. We came in the first runner-up. They got the $100,000, but we didn't even realize this, but there was a $25,000 second prize, so Handsome and I got split 12 and a half. And
where is he? Handsome Jim.
Honolulu, baby. Where'd you get those smiles? Woo! Domo Avocado, King Jeralala Benjo. Now, I know you don't understand Japanese. What that means for all my brothers and sisters out there is, thank you very much, Kingfish, where's the toilet? Now, see, that is Japanese talking now. You know something, baby? Kingfish and the Handsome Jimmy, we beat Japanese, we beat Puerto Ricans, we beat Filipinos, we beat Mexicans, and we beat Europeans. They were all there, and we beat everybody, you understand? Except that one Fujo, what's his name?
Masa Saito,
man. Yeah, he's a killer, Jack. But that ain't nothing, Jack. We had a good time. We came back with a little cabbage. Not much, though. You know, I spent a lot of money, man. You know, I went over to the dog trade. They got Japanese dogs, man, running out there. I put some money on them dogs, Jack. Now, I want to say something one more time. You know, Kingfish, you know Handsome Jim, man. You know, once or twice in the USA, I have slept on the floor, you know, because maybe I fell down and that's where I woke up the next morning. But for about 11 days in a row, I'm sleeping on the floor. Now, that's pretty hard to do. You don't get up in the morning, but hey, Fish, man, crack this neck, Jack. But anyway, we did have a good time, baby. Came back with a little cabbage, people, and I just want to say, whoa, Missy, it's good to be back in a good old USA.
I think you got a lot to be proud of, and son of a gun, if transportation had been right, we'd have been looking at the winners right here and there. Handsome Jimmy and the King and a sensational Japanese tour. We're ready to go to the ring, Davey, all set and ready with an opening match. It's something else.
Opening match today, the Batten brothers standing in the ring right now. Troy Graham bringing his team up here. One fall, 10-minute time limit match. Introducing at a total weight of 454 pounds from Charleston, West Virginia, the Batten brothers, Mark and Brad. And going against them at a total weight of 590 pounds from parts unknown with their manager, Troy Graham, the interns, current holders of the AWA Southern Tag Team Championship belts. This match, one fall, 10-minute time limit. Jerry Calhoun, the referee.
Okay, we're ready and set. Referee Jerry Calhoun says ring it up, and here we go with the intern number 2 starting out against Mark Batten.
Non-title match here. The interns hold the belts, but they are not on the line for this one. Mark and Brad, the Batten twins, are back onto the ropes right now. The big intern hammers him. Nice move. Whoops. Batten misses with a drop kick. The intern grabs him, pulls him over to the corner. The tag made. Double team by the interns off the rope. Double upper arm. Batten with a roll down one. Thought he might have a chance at him there. I tell you what, these interns come in at almost 300 pounds apiece. They are huge, and it's hard to hold them down. Batten twins are about 227 each, so they're giving away a lot of weight. The slam. The intern sits down on him. There's a cover. 1, 2. The Battens are pretty hard to hold down, too. They're quite agile. They can move in that ring. He kicked out right there to prevent a 3 count and loss in the match. Intern, lower leg. He came flying across the ring. Count is 1, 2. Just a 2 count. I heard Troy. Yeah, your guys are running wild in there. Double teaming. There they go again. Double backdrop. There's a cover again by the intern, but again, he can't make it stick past the 1 count. Batten kicks out of it. And his legs over to the corner, and the tag on his brother. The referee trying to get them apart over there. Troy Graham, the other one the other intern was pinned over here. Troy Graham hammered Batten with a chair in the top of the head, and there's a 3 count. And that's it.
Why in the world are you happy about doing something like that? There's no excuse in the world for Troy Graham interfering again. He's getting to be a regular habit of that, Dave.
He did indeed with a chair. I think you can take a look at exactly what happened. One intern and one of the Battens are in the corner. The referee trying to get them apart. Now watch what happens. There's a pin. And there's Troy Graham with a chair. And that resulted in the count of 3 coming up. And the interns get the victory as the referee counts Batten out. 1, 2, 3. 2 minutes, 13 seconds, the time on the match.
The official winners, the interns, will take time out, and we'll be back in just one moment. Louisville. By golly, I'll tell you what, right down there at the Gardens Tuesday night is going to be something else. I'll give you the whole card a little bit later on, but in addition to the big Lawler-Gilbert match that'll be coming up, I got to tell you, you got a Southern Tag Team title match with the fabulous one, Stan and Steve, after the interns who really messed his father up. You know his dad is walking with a walking stick.
Well, that's good, baby. That's good. Kern's going to be walking with a walking stick when we finish with him in Louisville, baby. It's going to be a graveyard digging in a coffin buying a long time. We've been in a family crime. Possession is 9/10 of the law. We got the belts. We whooped them from one end of that Louisville Gardens to the other end of the Louisville Gardens, baby. What I understand is that's a bald-faced lie. I understand that Laney Kern is going to have his old daddy sitting out in the audience waiting on me to jump me from behind. Well, that's just fine. You big, fat, shell-shocked daddy of yours, you need to be in a mental institution, baby. We got the belt. You come on to Louisville Gardens because we're going to drop something on you that A-bomb won't take off. Rock and Louisville. Come on down, baby.
We're going to find out about it when it all happens right there Tuesday night. Another one we'll find out about is the Mid-America title match. Hey, how about Lanny Poffo going to be
Who's
challenged?
Lanny Poffo?
He's
Let's talk about me. I'm the champion. I'm the one that deserves all the recognition and the credit. You know who I am? I'm Canada's greatest athlete. I'm also the Mid-American champion. You know what that is? That covers all Mid-America. That's a big place, right?
Big place.
Well, I'm a big man, and it's going to take more than Lanny Poffo to stand a chance with me. I'll guarantee you that.
Tuesday night, Louisville Gardens.
Wake up to
Big Mike Sharp and Eddie Gilbert in action here representing the First Family in just a moment. Davey, last week we had an unfortunate set of circumstances. I say that objectively. Eddie Marlin couldn't make it in because of the weather, and I think everybody understands that, and Jerry Jarrett was unable to be here. And Eddie, in talking to him prior to the show, as you know, he asked us please to kind of keep a lid on things and watch how things go. We had an unfortunate circumstance, and that is to say, I think Jimmy Hart got a little out of hand. We, at that time, following an incident, had told, following Eddie's request to try to keep things under control, we told Jimmy Hart he was suspended for the action that he took. I am delighted to say, and I knew that he would, that Eddie Marlin sustained us on that, with a 30-day suspension on Jimmy Hart. So that you won't be in the dark, let's take a look at exactly what happened. This was just in an interview talking with Hart about a match, and let's take a look at exactly what happened in this one.
Let me tell you something, white boy.
Well, looking back, I guess it's a little funnier this week, but really not a laughing situation. Hart just total disdain for it, and the suspension came about. We don't take any great delight in the fact of getting anybody suspended.
No, of course not. But you gotta keep things rolling along, and you gotta keep some order around here.
Some people just don't have any reasonableness. But we, in all fairness, Hart had some things to say, as you can well imagine. And let's take a listen to what Jimmy Hart had to say following that.
You know, how often have I told you people out there that Jimmy Hart is the smartest man in professional wrestling? You know, sometimes I even amaze myself. I might even be the smartest man in the world. Who else could change adversity into his advantage? Nobody like Jimmy Hart. Well, baby, let me tell y'all what I've went and done. You know, I'm sure old Lance Russell's probably sitting somewhere right now, smiling from ear to ear, grinning, going, I got Jimmy Hart suspended. That big old banana nose of his hanging all over the place, all beat red, because, you know, he gets red when he gets excited. And I'm sure all you people right now are telling all those snotty-nosed little kids that are running through your house while you're trying to watch wrestling, and that big old beer-drinking husband with that big old gut hanging out with beer sipping down his face, you're probably saying, shh, honey, do you realize what just happened? Jimmy Hart's been suspended from professional wrestling. And everybody's all excited and all crazy, right? Well, I thought it was a big joke, too. You know what happened to me? Hey, I got on the phone, and I called Eddie Marlin when it happened. I said, hey, Eddie, can you believe this? I called him Collective. I said, hey, can you believe this, man? Lance Russell had the nerve, had the gall to try to suspend Jimmy Hart from professional wrestling. Can you believe that? And you know what he said? He says, hey, Jimmy, you are suspended, and you are suspended for 30 days. I said, 30 days? He said, that's right, because he said, you see, Lance Russell was in charge that day. I gave him full authority. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I said, I can't believe it. All I did was spill, accidentally, a little bit of flour on Lance's jacket. I said, you had to have a microscope to see it. That's all. It was just a little bit. He said, hey, it wasn't a little bit. He said, because I saw the retape of it. He said, and you got exactly what you deserve. You were suspended from professional wrestling for 30 days. I hung the phone up, and it didn't take me, baby, but about 15 minutes to come up with the greatest plan in professional wrestling, the greatest concoction of all, the master plan. And I got back on the phone, and I dialed the number, and I called Eddie Martin. I said, let me tell you something, Eddie. I said, I've got an offer for you, a deal that you can't refuse. And, baby, he fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. Not only he didn't swallow the bait, baby, he swallowed the whole hook. I said, you know that Eddie Gilbert's the Southern Heavyweight Champion, the most prestigious belt in professional wrestling today, the Southern Belt. He said, that's right, it is, and he's my main man of the first family. I said, Eddie Gilbert will put that Southern Belt up against any wrestler that you want to bring in. I don't care who you want to pick. You name him, baby, and we'll put that belt up. I don't care how big and bad they are, anybody. He said, anybody? And I said, that's right, the Southern Belt. And I've been suspended for 30 days, and I know that, but this is another stipulation I added on to that for Eddie Marlin. I said, Eddie, because I knew he would love this, I said, Eddie, forget the 30-day suspension. Whoever you bring in that beats Eddie Gilbert, not only do they win the Southern Belt, but hey, Jimmy Hart will be out of your hair and everybody's hair for 1 year. For 1 year. You can get rid of me for 1 year, man. You know? So Eddie, he loved it. He loved it. He said, I'll call you back. I knew he would swallow the bait. So what he did, baby, he got on the phone. And can you believe he called Jerry Lawler? Jerry Lawler, what a goof he is. And Lawler swallowed the bait. Can you believe it? And so they said, now let's be sure we get these stipulations right. Your 30-day suspension, you can forget about this right now. That means 1 year. We won't have to put up with Jimmy Hart for 1 year. And I said, that's right, baby. You won't have to put up with me for 1 whole year. I'll be out of your hair, gone, bon voyage, hasta la vista, so long, amigo, whatever you want to say. And I won't come back under a hood. I won't come back with a different name. I won't send in a Jimmy Hart lookalike and be calling the shots from somewhere else. I mean, I am gone. But I said, on the other hand, if that's who you want is Jerry Lawler, and the contracts have been signed, and there's no stopping the matches now, and there's no turning back, baby, they have been signed, sealed, and delivered, then Jerry Lawler has a shot for Eddie Gilbert. But if Lawler loses, he won't win the Southern Belt, and he'll be gone from here for 1 year. He won't be able to come back under a hood. He won't be able to come back under a different name. He can't send in a lookalike or nothing else. He is gone. Is that right? He said, that's right. And I said, but you know what? You see, there's one other thing, too, that you didn't think about, Lawler, is the day you went on TV and you told all those hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people all over, and you said, hey, if I don't win that world belt by 1985, then I will retire from professional wrestling. Well, King, I know that you don't lie. And I know that all the people out there that know that you don't lie because you tell the truth, don't you, King? You know what that means, King? That means that you won't even be gone for a year. You'll be gone forever. Because if you don't have the Southern Belt, that means you don't get a shot at the World Belt. And if you're gone for 1 year, 85 will be over with. Oh, man. But I know, hey, I know you. You're sitting there laughing right now saying, that's okay. Eddie Gilbert, he'll be a pushover because, you see, Jimmy Hart won't be at ringside. Jimmy Hart won't be in his corner because I've been suspended, right? Well, let me tell you something. I've got a big, big surprise for you, big man. A big surprise. The biggest surprise in your life, because you see, I didn't want to leave that base uncovered, because I know I couldn't be at ringside that night. You understand that? And I couldn't be in the building. So, King, what I want you to do, when you go into that arena, I want you to go by and I want you to shake hands with all your fans. And I want you to hug and kiss those big old fat pimply-faced girls all over that building. And I want you to look at that arena for the last time, because it'll be the last time you ever step in that arena. You understand that? Because you're going to be out of my life forever. Now, who is the smartest man in professional wrestling? When I am a baby, Jimmy Hart. Bye, King. It's all over, because I promise you this, baby. After we beat you, my suspension will be lifted, and I'll be back on TV yelling and screaming and doing what I do best. The smartest man in professional wrestling, Jimmy Hart.
Well, you hear Hart, and as you might expect, he went the long way about saying it is an extremely important situation that is coming up. King, this one is really laying it down on the line, man. While it's difficult to admit it, there is some truth in the things that Jimmy Hart said. You're putting an awful lot at stake in this match.
Well, you know, I hate to stand out here and say that Hart is smart, but apparently, you know, he came up with a pretty good scheme on this one. He did kind of rush us into a contract signing here without, you know, without laying all the cards on the table. As he said there, you know, he's right. I did think that, you know, it wouldn't be much of a problem. If I didn't think that I could beat Eddie Gilbert, I would have never signed for the match. I think I can beat Eddie Gilbert. And I know I can beat Eddie Gilbert with Hart not at ringside. But now apparently Hart has some sort of surprise that he's going to pull at the last minute there with, I don't know if he's going to have somebody else at ringside with him or whatever it is, but apparently Hart's got something up his sleeve on that. All I can say is that Hart has been here for 5 years. I'm the man that brought him into professional wrestling, and I told the people a long time ago that I was not going to stop until I was the man that got him out of professional wrestling. I've been here for about twice as long as Hart. Either way you look at it, one of us is not going to be here for another year. Now, the stipulation reads that if Eddie Gilbert wins the match and I can't wrestle in, you know, and I can't wrestle here for a year, then Hart's suspension is immediately lifted also. So he's right, you know, he's right back here on television, and he's right back at the arenas managing all his men. All I can say is Eddie Gilbert, I'm looking at this as being the most important match that I have ever had in my life, because this is where I have made my livelihood for the past 10 years. This is where I have the fans that I love and that love me, and this is where I've become known as the King. And, brother, I don't intend to give that up easy, I can assure you that.
Jerry, I don't want to put the dark cloud over the conversation, but I got to ask you this in all honesty. Now, the fact of the matter is, Eddie Gilbert is the Southern Heavyweight Champion, which means he won the title from you. Have you thought about what happens if, regardless of whatever the reasons be, Hart pulls something and you lose?
Well, sure. Yeah, Lance, I thought about it before I signed for the match. I mean, you know, anybody that would put their name on something without thinking of the consequences would be pretty stupid. You know, I'm not trying to hide anything from the fans. I told everybody when I originally started wrestling that I had intended to quit wrestling by the time I was 35 years old. I am now 35, and I told them earlier this year, that if I didn't win the world title by the end of this year, that I would retire anyway. Yeah, as I said, I've been wrestling for over 10 years now, and I've had I've done just about everything you can do in a wrestling career, and the fans and wrestling have been very good to me. I've enjoyed it and that kind of thing. I've made, as I said once before, you know, I've made some good investments. I've done some things. If I had to stop wrestling, if this was my last wrestling match, you know, I'm not going to have to be standing out on the street corner with a cup out or anything like that. I've got a television show in Memphis that I can hopefully continue doing after, you know, if I'm not wrestling anymore. I'm not saying that even if I lose the match, Lance, that means I wouldn't be able to wrestle in this area. And of course, this is my home. This is where I want to wrestle. But I also would be free at that time to, even without the Southern title, I could wrestle in other areas and you know,
really pursue
the World Heavyweight Championship. As a side note, you know, Lance, I've talked to you about it. Eddie Marlin knows it has been very, very difficult for me to get a title match with any of the top, there are several recognized world champions. You got the NWA, the CWA, the AWA, and it has been very difficult for me to get any of those guys to put their name on a contract to come here and wrestle me. Yeah. Because I've been very fortunate in this area. I've had a good record against champions here, and they don't want to come here and wrestle me. And so, should something like that occur, I'm not saying it'd be the end of the road for Jerry Lawler. I could go someplace else and wrestle and possibly have a better chance at winning the world title, somewhere else.
Well, that's one way to look at it. We don't want to see you leave the area, though, Jerry.
Well, believe me, I'm just sitting here. I'm talking myself into a depression here. I don't want to leave the area. That's the last thing on my mind. Eddie Gilbert, you better have a big surprise up your sleeve, brother, because I'm going to have a few up mine. And Mr. Hart, I hope you've enjoyed your stay here for about 5 years, because it's all fixing to come to an end.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Well, this is a monumental moment, as a matter of fact, because you may have just seen the last appearance of one or the other for quite some time, and maybe forever. We're ready for action up in the ring. Let's go to it. And speaking of hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert, here he